Okay? Who here likes hockey? Thank you, Sam. Yeah. Twins. I know I do. As you probably know from my hat, I am a huge fan of the LA Kings. But if you didn't know it, I am a huge fan of the LA Kings. Well, now that I've said that, I can talk about them while you will be informed that I will be heavily biased. Anyway, it's time to inform you all about the history, or some of it, of the Kings. In 1967 to 1968, the NHL decided to expand, and 6 teams were added to the NHL. Jack Kent Cooke paid $2 million for one of the expansion teams to be placed in LA. For one of the teams to be placed in LA. This proves that Jack can't cook, but he can definitely make a hockey team. Cooke was handed one of the new expansion teams as a reward. The other expansion teams consisted of the California Seals, if any of you have heard of them, they don't exist anymore, the St. Louis Blues, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Minnesota North Stars, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Cooke named this team the LA Kings because of Hollywood. He thought they were all kings or something, so Kings. He also made the color scheme purple and gold, because that's what the Kings wear. Since Cooke couldn't find an arena to partner with, he decided to build his own. So he started building the Fabulous Forum. Again, they don't use that anymore, so you may not have heard of it. The Forum wasn't ready when the season started, so the Kings played in the Long Beach Arena. The Forum finally finished on December 30th, 1967, and it was definitely an arena fit for a king. In their first season, the Kings finished 2nd place in the Western Division, just 1 point behind the Philadelphia Flyers. They had a fairly successful second year, but they hit hard times afterwards, mainly because of bad management. The Kings coaches had a bad history with trading away first-round draft picks for experienced veteran players who were going downhill, which would be a problem that would affect the Kings for years. In 1972, the Kings got 2 key assets. One was the goaltender, Rogie Vachon, and Vachon was the star, making save after save, and for the next 5 years, his name could be heard in the arena. They also acquired Bob Pulford, first as a player, then as a coach. With the new coach and great goaltending, it only took the Kings 2 years to get back in the playoffs. After that, they had their 3 most successful years ever. So in 1975, the Kings upgraded their offensive power by acquiring Marcel Dion. With Dion's outstanding offensive skills, Goring Butch's goal-scoring touch, and Vachon's amazing goaltending, the Kings played 2 of their best seasons ever. In the 1997 playoff, the Kings won against the Bruins. The Bruins dominated the first 2 games and somehow managed to win the 3rd. But in the 4th game, the Kings backed with a 7-4 win. In Game 5, Boston saw a game where the Kings were badly outshot. But the words of Boston goalie Gary Cheveres said, Vachon did everything but stand on his head to make great save after great save, end quote. The Kings ended up winning 3-1 in the 6th game. The Kings were doing well until a defenseman broke his stick, causing the Bruins to win the game. Bob Pulford left the Kings after the 1976-77 season after constantly feuding with the owner Jack Kent Cooke. The Kings' general manager Jake Milford left them at the same time. With them both gone, the Kings struggled in the 1977-1978 season. After that season, Rogie Vachon left the Kings and signed with the Detroit Red Wings. In 1979, the Kings coach tried to juggle the lines, and Dion found himself on a line with the right winger Dave Taylor and the left winger Charlie Simmer. Each player benefited from the other, with Simmer being the gritty player who got a lot of boards, Taylor being the playmaker, and Dion being the natural goal scorer. They formed the line known as the Triple Crown line. which would go on to be one of the highest scoring lines in the history of the NHL. After the Triple Crown Lions first season together, Jerry Buss purchased the Kings and the Lakers and the Forum for $67 million. Fast forward to 1981-1982 season, the Kings barely managed to make it into the playoffs, and were playing Edmonton Oilers with Wayne Gretzky, led by Wayne Gretzky, aka the Great One. Few expected the Kings to stand a chance, but it was the Kings who won Game 1 in Edmonton on April 7th, 1982. 10-8 in the highest scoring Stanley Cup playoff game ever. The Oilers recovered to win in overtime in Game 2. Game 3 would be one of the most amazing in hockey history and was later dubbed the Miracle on Manchester. In that game, Gretzky led the Oilers to a commanding 5-0 lead after 2 periods, and it seemed like the Kings were headed for a blowout loss. But the Kings began an unbelievable comeback in the third period, scoring 4 goals and finally tying the game with 5 seconds on the clock. 2 minutes and 55 seconds into overtime, the Kings scored, winning the game 6-5. Miracle on Manchester was the greatest comeback in NHL playoff history. Not only did the Kings complete a miraculous comeback against the vaunted Oilers, but they also went to eliminate them from the playoffs in 5 games, winning the decider of Edmonton 7-4. However, the Kings would lose the next round to Vancouver in the next 5 games. Well, unfortunately, the Kings' history is way too long to cover in one speech, and I'm probably about to run out of time. So I'm going to have to cut it short. But make sure to watch out for The History of the Kings, Part 2. Never coming to theaters may contain extensive puns, horrible jokes, or discussions by the non-means, because this will never exist anyway. Thank you.
Go Flyers!
Go Kings.
Bruins, Flyers.
Kings.
Chudley Cannons.
Hey, our last speaker is Gabby.
No, it's actually going to be Ryan. Hmm? No, you're evaluating.
Never come to theaters may contain extensive puns, horrible jokes, or discussions by the non-means.
Yes, it is.
Okay, before I start my speech, I'd just like to apologize. I tried really hard to get my speech on note cards, but I could not do it before this class. And so when I flip my page, you'll be able to read the next part of my speech. So just try not to.